What's up, guys? Dane Davis here. Shout out to Boogie Bentley, Dauber, and the Indie Kid over at Talkin VAWLS Network on YouTube. Vols fans, head over to their YouTube channel, Talkin VAWLS Network. Smash that like button and subscribe, baby. Go Big Orange.
Just look around. You got the mountains. You got the most beautiful city in the whole entire country. The university is absolutely, looks like it's out of a storybook. It's just beautiful. People are incredibly genuine and extremely nice. It's just a place that obviously I'd want my kids to go to school. And it sells itself. You don't have to sell anything about this place. You just got to get them here. You know, the old field of dreams. Yeah. Build it and they will come. It's already built.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
I'm Dauber.
And I'm the Indie Kid.
Guys, Vols take care of business 45-20 today. And look, I know there are some concerns. There are some things to talk about. But let's start this show off positive. Look, the Tennessee, just what a great Saturday. Great Saturday for Tennessee. Great Saturday for football. You kick it off with Tennessee recognizing Al Wilson, one of the greatest of all time to ever lace up the cleats, put the power tee on. Al Wilson recognized at halftime for entering the College Football Hall of Fame. Also, you know, he met with the team. He also led the ball walk this morning. We break out the black jerseys, enter dark mode. A lot of recruits on campus today. A lot of recruits, a lot of guys in the 23-24 class as well. So just a good Saturday. Tennessee goes out, takes care of business. Opening thoughts. Indie Kid, look, Tennessee is outscoring their opponents 101-13 in the first quarter. I know there are some things to talk about, but let's kick it off positive.
I'm not complaining, man, at any of it. 45-20, 2 wins in a row in the SEC. Pretty good day, if you ask me. Pretty good day. It's especially when you live down here in Gamecock country, and all the talking I've done this week. Thank goodness it got backed up. So, hey, man, I'm happy. I am happy with it. Yeah, I know we'll discuss the second half, but 45-20, covered the spread. This team, they're looking good. They're rolling. Yeah, there were injuries, but it's an SEC win. No complaints here from me.
Dauber, what are your opening thoughts as Tennessee takes care of business 45-20?
Opening thoughts are end result. Got the W. And like Indie Kid said, SEC win. Those have been hard to come by recently for this program. Moving forward, yeah, a few things to look at that bring up some questions. You go another week giving up a special teams touchdown. Injuries. It seemed like every time there was a stoppage of play, there was somebody laying down in a black jersey. Yeah, even before the game started, before we kicked, a number of starters missing today. So looking at the gauntlet of the stretch of 4 games that this team is getting ready to hit, you're talking 4 games against top 20 teams, including the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams. You're going to have all the depth and all the able bodies possible to be able to compete in this stretch of games. So, but a lot of momentum moving forward into that.
Let's run down the live chat. Let's see who is hanging out. We got 155 people right now. Let's grow that. Let's make that bigger. These noon kicks, I get it. It's tough. People are watching football. People will tune in after the fact. and that's fine. Do us a favor. Number one, hit that thumbs up. Let's get it going early. Let's get it going early, and then I'll let it go. Just smash that thumbs up below the video. Also, hit share. Share out this link. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter, Instagram. Call your aunt. Tell her we're live. Let somebody know that Talkin VAWLS is live. We would greatly appreciate it. We got Sherry Darnell hanging out in the chat. Says, go big orange. She's a member of the channel. Dropping that sweet smoky emoji. Leah Lancaster is here. Says this game is fire. A lot of you guys were celebrating in the chat early. Let's see who else we got. Oh, well, yeah, they're calling out specific plays. I should probably fast forward and see who is here now. John Hill talking about we can't afford to run the clock down. I think I'm still in the middle of the game. You guys use this for your in-game action, which we appreciate it. Wes McLaughlin in the house. Also worried about injuries. GBO in the house. Dustin Breeden, Kenny Jones, Wayne Starnes also in the house. Yeah, Indy Kid, he's a cock. Indy Kid's a cock. He lives in cock country. John Hill with the $20 super chat, kicking things off. Thank you, John. We appreciate the support. Says we got to keep the pedal to the metal, tighten up our zone. Much better than last year, and a good win. Go Big Orange. Do we want to just start talking about that second half? I think we need. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about the second half. Tennessee comes out on fire early. Like I said, they're outscoring their opponents 101-13 in that first quarter. They come out flat in the second half, and Indy Kid, you talk about putting your foot on their throat and not letting up for 60 minutes. Do you think some of that struggle in the second half is due to that? I felt like Josh Heupel took his foot off the gas a little bit, tried to start chewing up a little bit of clock, and this offense thrives on tempo. Do you think that some of the struggles in the second half, or do you think South Carolina adjusted, which I do think they did that a little bit as well?
I think it was a combination, but I think Tennessee went conservative. I agree on it. I don't know if they were just trying to run clock, get out injury free. I've seen people alluding to that. You got to give South Carolina a little bit of credit. They did adjust. They brought more pressure, but Tennessee went away from what they were doing so well in the first half. So I just think it was a case they took their foot off the pedal, and it allowed South Carolina to come back. And something that was a momentum changer as well is Alante Taylor hits him right in the hands, hits the ground, next play. I don't know why Tennessee was not lined. I don't know why they weren't covering for a fake punt.
They were in punt return safe.
Yeah.
If you watch, they were in punt return safe. Warren Burrell, I was talking to Tim Bradley, listener of the show, during the game, and I'm like, what? How are you in punt return safe and allow that to happen? And he had the perfect answer. Warren Burrell went to sleep. That's it.
Yeah. But, besides that, that interception drop was a momentum changer. And, that fake punt does not happen if you catch that interception. These guys have got to do it when it hits you in the hands. We've seen it so many times over the last couple of years. But, yeah, I think it was – I really do. I think that going conservative really allowed South Carolina to get some momentum that, frankly, they shouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like I said, opening, that's 2 weeks in a row that the team has given up touchdowns on special teams. And, that's a point in the game where if it's a tight game, special teams can win or lose a ball game for you. And that has been something that up until last week, special teams had really been in the plus column for us. We'd been successful, had some good plays, played good field position in special teams, and then just had some a bit of breakdown and letdown in that part of the game. So,
yeah, I talked about that a little bit in my South Carolina scouting report, that I thought today special teams could give South Carolina a chance to hang around late, but kind of like you said, next week you have a breakdown in special teams play that can cost you a game against Ole Miss. That can absolutely cost you a game. Today, Paxton Brooks shanked a punt early. He blasted one into the end zone late. And then, like Indy Kid just said there, punt return, you're in punt return safe, but somehow you give up a touchdown. Let me get through some of these super chats. Cody Branch for 2. Thank you, Cody. We appreciate it. It says, go Vols, baby, cooking some chicken right now. I hope you save some for us. Drew Truesdale for 5. How do we keep getting hurt on extra points? That's a good question. It seems like every week a backup or reserve offensive lineman gets banged up on the extra point. I saw somebody on the VolQuest message board saying, I hope they're just trying to give the defense a little time to rest. Something's up because it happens pretty much every week. John Hill for 5. It was Al Wilson Day. Shoot, I was thinking they were letting Fulmer call the offense in the third quarter. Yeah.
That was Fulmer ball. Yeah.
I feel like for the first time since Josh Heupel's been at Tennessee, they let their foot off the gas. And again, this offense thrives when you're going up tempo. You're going fast. You're creating mismatches. You're not letting the defense get set. And, it's something that Heupel talked about. I think it was on Ball Calls this week, saying that he wished that Hooker would get to the line and just go. Like there's times that Hendon Hooker hesitates a little bit. He wishes he would just go. And I feel like when they take their foot off the gas, it kind of takes away from what this offense is. And another, something else I wanted to talk about, something the Indy Kid has harped on multiple times is Josh Heupel's management of the clock right before the half. We saw it again. They complete a pass to Jalen Hyatt on second down. They lose about 10 seconds there trying to get lined up and go. But to kind of defend Josh Heupel here with his time management, Indy Kid, then I'm kind of throwing this at you because you've talked about it before. I think, and he's talked about it on this coach's show, he feels better about going quick, going up tempo, getting lined up versus calling a timeout and giving the defense a chance to kind of reset. I think that's it's an advantage. So while it hurts Tennessee when they've got a big time lead, they're trying to chew some clock. I also think that plays into that halftime, right before the halftime management.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it is. And I thought they managed it pretty good before the half today. They took timeouts when they needed to. I didn't really have an issue with it today. Florida game is the one where I kind of had a little issue with it. But, I saw a buddy of mine sent a comment. And, I look at it this way, comparing that to the Jeremy Pruitt era with 2:28 to go in the first half. Jeremy Pruitt's running the clock out. Josh Heupel's trying to score. I'll take it. I'm not complaining when you're going down to try to score. We can criticize the clock management all we want to on it, but the bottom line is he is going down trying to score and getting points. And or setting them up for it.
We came away with 3 there. A little bit better clock management, you would have had 1 or 2 more shots at the end zone.
I think using the timeout off the Jalen Hyatt catch would have given you a couple more plays for sure.
Yeah.
Wes
they
McLaughlin,
run a play under center. Yeah, I saw it.
Did Ole Miss win? Indy Kid, do you still have that pulled up? Do you see the score on that?
No, I've been watching Texas and Oklahoma, actually, so I do not. Last I saw, it's 52-45, Ole Miss.
Isn't it a nice problem to have, though, that Tennessee back-to-back SEC conference games never in doubt? I was never nervous. Even, you look at Twitter, people were freaking out. Obviously, VolQuest, anytime you're in the general's quarters, people are freaking out. That's what they do. This game was never in doubt. Indy Kid, we were talking a little bit before Dauber jumped into the green room right before we went live. And, you were talking about if South Carolina gets that 2-point conversion, maybe you'd start to get a little bit nervous. But still, at that point, the game was out of hand. Like Tennessee they laid an egg in the second half up until that last score there from Whitehead. What a strong run, man. It's just straight ahead. But the game was never
from under center too. From under center.
But Josh Heupel listens to the Talkin VAWLS network.
That's right. I mean that if they would hit that 2-point conversion, that's essentially they're going to have to get two 2-point conversions. But might have been a little time to get nervous. I felt I was kind of getting edgy, but once that Taylor had that pick in the end zone on the 2-point, then I think that sealed it. I really think
you get your free cookies. I hope we all get our free cookies. I tell you what,
I don't know. That's not a pick, man. I don't.
Well,
no
they
cookies.
sent a DM to the company. They confirmed you're getting your cookies.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, really?
Talk about the best NI deal of all time. All they talked about was the cookies. That's all they talked about the whole game was getting your free cookies. So that company got their money's worth. And speaking of money, thank you, Joel. That is a big time $20 super chat. We appreciate it. It says, good job limiting penalties the past few weeks. Now we've got to try our best to prevent injuries. This roster can't afford many more players being out. Take the fight to Ole Miss and Kiffin and keep it there for 60 minutes. Darby, you talked about injuries a little bit earlier. It's a big-time problem, and I don't know where it's coming from, but today, Tennessee without their best player on defense, Theo Jackson, out. His backup, Danico Slaughter, out. On the flip side of that, Tennessee goes out, takes care of business. We finally get to really see Brandon Turnage take some meaningful snaps, and I thought he looked good today. And then continuing that, Juwan Mitchell also out today. I don't know that he ever gets back on the field. Aaron Beasley is playing good football, but this football team's got to stay healthy because the gauntlet is coming.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. We also had Elijah Simmons out. That's another big time dude on the defensive line that can cause some havoc. But I don't think we really saw much from South Carolina's running game. Had a couple breakdowns when Doty scrambled a little bit, and man, another one of those 3rd and longs that we gave up.
What was it, like 16, 3rd and 16 or something like that?
I thought it was like 19.
3rd and 18.
Might have been.
And man, talk about that. That was one of the points where I got super frustrated because that is very reminiscent of how the team has played the last couple of years. That's the type of stuff that you got to clean up. You got to get off the field on 3rd downs. But yeah, going back to the injuries, that's you got to have all the healthy guys you can have running through this stretch of 4 games because it's 4 teams that are ranked and 4 teams that are. It's going to be tough games. Listen, going to Kentucky, that's a winnable ball game, but it's going to be a tough ball game, and it's going to be one of those like we've talked about the Pitt game. You're going to have to play clean football and minimize mistakes because mistakes in that game will cost you the game. Mistakes in the Alabama and the Georgia game, they're going to cost you chances to be close to being in the game late. But the Kentucky and honestly, I think the Ole Miss game, if we play clean football, it's going to be a shootout.
It's going to be a football game. Tennessee is going to compete next week. That's a game I was worried about. Tennessee is going to be in that. I truly believe. And they're talking about this game in the chat.
If they play clean football.
Robert 45 Tennessee for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Robert. We appreciate it. Says the Ole Miss game could be 100-point game next week. Would not surprise me at all. Donovan Milliken for $2. Thank you, Donovan. Says Ole Miss survives 52-51. Apparently, Sam Pittman went for 2. And Ole Miss gets the win. That's a ballsy call right there. Ole Miss gets the win 52-51. I want to talk about this Tim Banks defense because, little things like allowing the quarterback to get out of the pocket and, extend plays, pick up the first downs. Overall, this Tim Banks defense played good football today. You take away, the fake punt for a touchdown, which was ridiculous. This defense gave up 2 touchdowns today. They dug in. They played good football. What did we hear about Tim Banks coming in? They're going to play aggressive. They're going to make negative plays, and they're going to force turnovers. Today, two turnovers again. And Alontae Taylor, we joke and say it doesn't count as an interception because it was a 2-point conversion. But that's technically 3 turnovers. I think they were around 10 tackles for loss early in the 4th. I don't know where they ended up. This Tennessee defense plays loose. They play fast. They play aggressive. I love this defense.
Well, and
you got to take into account that they're on the field more because of how fast the offense goes. Tim Banks is earning his paycheck.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And the other thing, not just the 2 turnovers, but converting those turnovers into points. Defense gets the offense the ball, and the offense goes down and makes something happen with it. It was something like I think they said 12 minutes is how long Tennessee had time of possession in the first half. So you're talking, over a quarter that the defense was on the field. Conversely to that, so but playing with a big lead, that also favors your defense because it tends to make the other team one-dimensional.
Indy Kid, what did you think about the defense today? Sorry, I'm trying to retweet the show on Twitter.
It did a good job. I mean, they got pressure. They had some turnovers. Not bad. They're making improvements every week. We're seeing guys getting better. That's, you know, and I would say, too, you're seeing improvement. The unit I've been the hardest on has been the secondary. I think they're making a lot of strides in that secondary. Guys are, you know, you're seeing plays across the middle. You know, it's going to happen. But, yeah, Tim Banks is, I would say all those guys on that side of the ball are earning their money just because there's guys getting better. They're making improvements. No complaints for me. I mean, that's kind of my line today. You're not going to get me to complain when Tennessee beats South Carolina 45-20. I mean, we can pick it apart all we want. That's 2 SEC wins in a row. Yeah, I'm seeing what I want to see. Since Pitt, guys are improving. Guys are getting better. Coaching staff is adapting. There's good things going on right now. Yeah, it's about to get real. But, so, you know, we heard about that Gamecock defense today. It got shredded. And it would have gotten shredded more had they not gone conservative.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker, 17 of 23, 225 yards and 3 touchdowns. Added 66 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Tyon Evans, over 100 again. What an absolute stud. Hopefully he is going to be good to go for Ole Miss. Again, injuries. That running back room is beat all to pieces. We're going to need Tyon Evans. Let me get caught up on Super Chats here, but I want to say first, we got 260 people watching live. We're glad you're here. Help us out. Hit that thumbs up just below the video, or if you're on Facebook, wherever you're watching, hit that thumbs up. We got 125 thumbs up on YouTube. Let's get it to 200. If you guys get it over 200, I'll shut up and I won't say it again. I know some people get irritated when I say it, but let's make it a game. Let's get it to 200. We're already up to 133. If you guys get it to 200, I'll shut up and won't talk about it again. Wayne Starnes with a big-time super chat. Thank you for the $20. We appreciate it. Says, let's get ready and beat Ole Miss. It's probably going to be a shootout. I think we can beat them. I feel a little bit better about it today. It's one that concerned me. I think Tennessee can hang with them. I really do. John Hill for 5. Thank you, John. Our zone has to get better coverage. Ole Miss, Alabama, and Georgia will eat us up. Dauber and Indy Kid could 3-legged race and get open against our zone. Why wasn't I included? I feel left out. I feel very left out. Joel Certain for 10. Thank you, Joel. We appreciate that. Fellows, we're exciting right now. Imagine what this team can do with a full roster and a bit more talent. I'm super excited for the future of the program. Go Big Orange. You know, it's funny. I tweeted out during the game. I said, you know, me during the summer, I'm going to be patient and wait and see about Josh Heupel. Me today, greatest coach of all time. Let's go Big Orange. We're back, baby. That's, you know, it feels good to go out and take Missouri and South Carolina to the woodshed back-to-back weeks. Josh Heupel in what was it? What are we, halfway in? We're 4-2, 6 games in. He's already scored more points than Jeremy Pruitt did last season. This team is fun to watch. If you are a recruit, you got to be taking notice. Dark mode, scoring points at will. That first quarter, 28 points in the first quarter. Dauber, it has to be impacting.
Second week in a row.
Five quarters in a row without a punt. It was like 90-some points in 5 quarters. Recruits have to be taking notice. We got to get this NCAA investigation behind us. And then Josh Heupel, I think Josh Heupel is doing a good job with the class of 23 and 24.
Yeah,
struggling a little bit in the class.
A lot of guys on campus day for those classes.
A lot of guys, yeah.
It was a big day for recruiting. I think I was excited going into the season. I was excited about the style of football that Josh Heupel was going to bring to Tennessee. It's one of those things. It's a brand and a style of football that Tennessee has never played. I joked and said that I hope they've gone around and, checked the lights of the scoreboard, because hopefully they're going to be lighting up, that left-hand side of the number where we haven't in a long time. And my goodness, 62 points last week, 45 this week, against SEC opponents. That's exciting. That is the type of football that, we tend to see teams come out and play that against us. They come out and have a quarterback has a Heisman type game, or running back breaks out and, runs for 300 yards against us. But this offense is putting up gaudy stats. And it's just been, what's funny is we've not really had one person kind of dominate things. Hooker is playing what he balled out today, though.
He's putting up PlayStation numbers, man.
Yeah.
PlayStation numbers.
One thing I will kind of go back to our discussion about the second half. To me, I didn't like the called quarterback runs. If you're trying to avoid injury, if you're trying to just milk the clock, man, hand it to a running back. Of course, like you said earlier, our running back room is banged up. But why would you jeopardize your starting quarterback, taking all those extra hits?
I was talking about it with somebody today, and it is, you want Hendon Hooker to stay healthy, but what stresses you out is what makes him so good, man.
Yeah.
What he adds with the run game helps open up this offense. It's kind of like watching Josh Dobbs, man. Sometimes you cringe. You're like, oh, good Lord, when he's out there spinning in the open field, but that's what helps open up this offense.
Yeah, I think to me, I had some flashbacks to the Pitt game, to the third quarter, when we just kind of hit that wall and really didn't do anything offensively. But I do think it was a little bit different because you could see kind of a change in the play calling this week versus the Pitt game. So I do think it was more schematically, and the coaches looking at personnel and saying, okay, we've got a big lead this week versus the third quarter of the Pitt game. It wasn't, we were actually down 3 points or 7 points, something like that. So they were calling it a little bit differently, but I still think, man, do something different. Don't put it in Hooker's hands that many times and take that gamble, because if Hooker goes down,
this team's in trouble.
This team's in trouble.
With Hendon Hooker, Tennessee beats Pitt. I don't think there's any question about it. If Hendon Hooker is the starter, he's getting all the reps. Tennessee beats Pitt. Tyler Adams for 2 says, what would you consider a win over the next 4 weeks? Win-loss wise, indicate this is something we seem to do every single week. We pull up the schedule, we take a look at it, and we try. We're on that race to 6 wins. And that's why, again, I hate to keep going back to the Pitt game, but it is what it is. Hendon Hooker starts. I think Tennessee wins that game. But this team is still progressing towards 6 wins, and they're sitting at 4-2. I think Vanderbilt, South Alabama, that gets you to 6. What are you taking over the next 2 weeks, Indy Kid? What's your win-loss record?
I'm sticking with 7, and that 7th, South Alabama, Vandy, November 6th. Calling my shot. I don't think Kentucky. And I know this is not the same series it's been. Kentucky does not have the offense to keep up with Tennessee.
Well, and that's what he's asking. He's asking the next 4 weeks. What do you consider a win over the next 4 weeks? You got Ole Miss, Alabama, Kentucky, and Georgia. What is a win? I think 2-2 has to be a win, right? You got to beat Ole Miss and Kentucky.
1-3 is a win. 1-3 is a win. 2-2 is just icing on the cake. Because they're going to be underdogs in all 4 games. I think Ole Miss is going to be hard. I think Ole Miss is going to be tough. I think they can get Kentucky. I really do. But, I mean, if they get Ole Miss and Kentucky beat, so be it. I think if you win 1 out of the next 4, that's good. Because you're going to get South Alabama. You're going to get Vandy. That's 7 wins. That's a pretty good first year based on everything that's happened. And I mean, let's face it, if they go 0-4, they just do. I mean, that's
it's very possible.
Again, they're going to be underdogs. Yeah, it's possible. I still I've not seen anything out of Kentucky's offense that scares me. Their defense is good, but, we supposedly faced a top 30 defense today and shredded them. I don't see a reason they can't do the same to Kentucky. I'm not saying 45 points, but by no means am I saying that. But
Kentucky's
not going to hold them to 10 points.
Kentucky only scored 16 against this South Carolina defense. Kentucky's beatable. Ole Miss is beatable. Ole Miss scares me more than Kentucky. But how many times have we beat it into the ground? The goal was 6 wins, and if you wanted to get to 7 or 8, you had to beat Pitt. And what do you think, Dobber? What is a win over the next 4 weeks?
I mean,
1-3?
Yeah, realistically, 2-2 is a win, but we could very well go 1-3 or 0-4 over the next 4 games.
I think the way we're all wording it, I think we would settle for 1-3. I don't consider that a win. I know Indy Kid said that's a win because you're looking at, 4 games. You're probably going to be the underdog. That's not. I'm not settling. I'm not settling for 1-3. A win is to 2-2.
Here's the thing. We are to Kentucky what Tennessee is to Florida. We have owned Kentucky, so we're in their head. It's one of those games that you look at the history of that series, and especially the last 15 years. That's a game that Tennessee should win.
Let me hit this super chat. That was a good question. Thank you for that, Tyler. We appreciate it. Jonathan Rice for $20 says, can't wait to be there next weekend. 4-2 should be 5-1 if Hooker starts from the beginning. Definitely seeing improvements. I understand letting off the gas in the second half because of the injuries piling up. Go Big Orange, VFL. Do you guys buy into that? Because I kind of said that too. Maybe Heupel was trying to chew up the clock, went conservative, just wanted to get out because the game was never in doubt. It was never in doubt today.
I definitely saw a change in the play calling. You look at compared to the first half, there was such a mix of run and pass, and it seemed like the second half we went heavy run. And like I said earlier, heavy quarterback called runs. That was something that I noticed and wrote down in the notes I was taking. So I think that and like you said, this offense is designed to run at a pretty high clip and keep the defense off balance, and that really didn't happen a whole lot in the second half. So, I think it was kind of a coaching decision. And let's face it, the game was never out of hand. After the first quarter, the game was, essentially done. So you take that opportunity. How good is it to get some guys in and game experience in SEC games for these younger guys? That's a luxury that we've not seen of late. And that's a key to developing depth and experience is getting guys into games. And when you score 28 points in the first quarter, you can throw people in. Get them in the mix.
Besties Forever with a $2 super chat says, can you give my daughter Bella Swan a shout out? We absolutely can do that. Look, when you're bringing your kids in, it's best to bring them in after a big time win because it's not always a safe space after a loss. But we could definitely shout out to Bella Swan. I hope you guys are having a good Saturday. Hope you guys enjoyed the win. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us here. We're caught up on super chats. Let's see here. What do we want to talk about? I wanted to talk a little bit about Velus Jones because it's something that was talked about a little bit last week. The decision for Josh Heupel to move him to the slot. His numbers have dramatically increased since they moved Velus Jones to the slot. And I kind of put that in my notes in the first half. And I don't think he really did anything in the second half, but still had 6 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. Velus Jones make a big-time play since moving him to the slot. Indy, do you think that helps open up this offense a little bit? Obviously, Javonte Payton kind of emerging as your deep threat. 4 touchdowns now, 4 straight weeks. Payton as a deep threat, Velus Jones in the slot. I like it.
Yeah, they've got a good combination going with those two. And Tillman, I mean, Tillman's making a lot of tough catches also.
Yep.
You know, Hyatt stepped up with some plays today. Nice to see him get a touchdown. Had a couple plays that he made. Yeah. But funny thing is, that's just a normal word down here in Tennessee. It's a slight, if that's mentioned. So, but anyhow, they're doing good things there. And, you know, they didn't really – did they even complete a pass in the second half?
I don't know. I was looking at Hendon Hooker's
I don't
numbers.
think they did.
I don't think
Might be
so
wrong.
either. He was 17 of 23 for 225 and 3 touchdowns. And I swear I thought that was that's where he was at. Let's
First
see.
half numbers. I don't think I don't even know if they threw in the second half.
No, he threw a hitch to Tillman for 9 yards on the 11th drive. I'm looking
Oh,
here.
that's right. It was first play of the drive.
Yeah, that's the only one I'm seeing. Yeah, I think that's it. No, had a quick to Bayless Jones. Might have gone down as a run, though, because it was for a loss. Hooker took a lot of sacks in the second half, man. And that's another thing they got to clean up.
The
Not to
line
get you
got
off topic.
manhandled second half. And I think Hooker didn't get rid of the ball
Yep.
a few times. I think some of them were on him. But that line didn't look that good in the second half either.
And you also had South Carolina crowding the box because I think they were play and run all the way because that's what we were doing. There was one play particularly, it was like a 3rd and 6 or something, and I think you had Tillman up at the top, single coverage, and I said, man, quick slant to Tillman right here because you had, I want to say it's 8 or maybe 9. Maybe you had the safety creeping up as well. So if you would have hit him, he would have ran for days. But we did an off-tackle run, and it was stuffed for no gain.
The safety was in the box the entire second half.
Yeah.
And the line couldn't protect to let Hooker. Well, they didn't even really try to throw the ball that much. But when they did, like you said, Indy Kid, Hendon Hooker was holding on to the ball too long. He took a couple of sacks that were on him.
Yeah, he did. He, I don't know if he was trying to get loose.
That right there's part of it too. Ollie Lane struggled today.
Yeah, we said it a couple weeks ago, man. You just can't tell me that you're moving Cade Mays inside and putting Davis out at tackle is not a better option. I refuse to believe that's the best 5. And maybe they'll get Cooper Mays back next week. I haven't heard anything on him, but they miss him when he's not in, for sure. Now they played better, but still, they miss him a lot when he's not out there.
I tell you one thing that I liked that I saw. First of all, we scored 28 points, and South Carolina got the ball to start with in the first quarter. So that's a heck of a first quarter. Not taking the opening possession and still scoring 28 points. But our first offensive drive, very first play, was a drop by VAWLS. And what do? We go right back to him, and he picks up, I think it was 9 or 10 yards. And that's what I've been alluding to all year. And what I wish this coaching staff would have done with Milton. Don't throw the deep ball just right out the gate, 3 or 4 or 5 times in the first couple of drives. Set the quarterback up for success. Get them in the groove and get them rolling. And I think once Hooker kind of establishes kind of that rhythm, man, it's fun to watch him play. He's I know I said last week managing the game, but I think he's doing a lot more than just managing the game, because I hate that term, but he is playing at a very efficient rate. And he's making good decisions. Apart from, like we just talked about, holding on to the ball a little bit too long late in the game when South Carolina was doing a number of things defensively to kind of slow down the run and crowd the box. We got the punter involved a little bit this week. So, I guess get him a few reps.
He's got to be better, man. He has to be better.
3 weeks in a row, the special team. I know you said 2 weeks in a row. They sucked at Florida too. The special teams did, so they've had 3 weeks in a row of lackluster special teams.
That's a good point.
The thing is, it's hard. I saw people blaming Eckler. It's hard to blame Eckler when you're in punt return safe. What are you supposed to do? You're in punt return safe, and Warren Burrell goes to sleep. That ain't on Coach Eckler.
That's the right call. That's the right call. Yeah. It's not executed properly.
And last week, the kickoff return for a touchdown. You have to know better. Stay in your lane on kickoff coverage. That's it. That's players. That's not coaching.
You do your assignment. You cover your responsibility, and the guy beside you has his responsibility.
I do just want to say that first drive, you kind of touched on it. You know, Jones having that drop on the first drive, and they go right back to him, picks up 24 yards, big time gain. Hendon Hooker took a sack. Ollie Lane completely whiffed on his block. Yep. I don't know if it was an assignment. He thought he was supposed to block somebody else, or if he just whiffed. I don't know what happened. And then Tillman had a drop in the end zone. And they still, I don't remember how many plays it was, big time drive to go down and score on that first drive. And how about Jalen Hyatt? That first catch for a touchdown. What great hands. That was all hands catch. Absolutely. I love seeing him make that play because he needed it. He needed it because this fan base has been down on Jalen Hyatt. He needed that touchdown. Jonathan Ross for 2. Thank you for the super chat. Says needs to be said, Aaron Beasley, defensive MVP this year. He's definitely playing good football, man. He's playing good football. He's thriving in this defense. Dakota Dyer for 5. If Ole Miss beats UT, it'll be because Alante Taylor gets picked on and burnt deep. He and Banks' personal fouls disappoint me most on this team.
I was just glad to see Banks back to his normal self today. It'd been too long. We needed that personal foul again.
Dauber sent the text today. He said, well, it's officially a game now. It's like the old softball game. You get X number of innings in. This is an official game. It's an official game once Jeremy Banks gets that personal foul. If he could clean that stuff up, man, he's playing good football. Banks and Beasley are playing really good football at linebacker. And Page is playing good at linebacker.
Page is not playing bad either. Yeah.
But, and you got Barron emerging as well.
Yep.
That's
Barron Young. B.Y. showed up today.
You heard him today too.
He put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He cleaned up a couple. They don't put defensive stats out till later. I think he had a couple of sacks today. This defensive line put some pressure on the quarterback today.
Roman Harrison was in there. So
Matthew Butler had a big sack.
Blakely.
Today.
Yeah,
Blakely was in the backfield all day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. They did all right. Not bad today. You give up 20 points, you'll take it. You'll take it. One of them was one of them special teams.
Yep. Is Tim Banks like the guy we're not talking about enough? What this defense is doing?
I tell you what, it's a surprise of the year for me. The defense and the play that Banks is getting from that group. Even though we've talked about the secondary and you've got some concerns and questions about some of the guys in the rotation and could it be better with a different group in there? And then we're thin at linebacker. We've talked about there have been games that the defensive line hasn't done their job to get pressure on the quarterback. But all in all, you talk about the first 4 games and really high in the nation in terms of rushing defense until we face a quarterback that has the ability to run and scramble and make plays.
Next week.
That is a bit concerning. But what Tim Banks has done with the group he has, the changes at defensive line that Rodney Gardner has come in and gotten out of those guys, that's been really something that I think that is kind of overlooked when we're scoring 60 and 45 points a game. You gotta give the credit and you gotta give Banks credit.
Fallout Zone has said, I think he said this a couple of times. You got to keep this coaching staff intact. Can't lose people like the last coaching staff did. Very excited for this era. Can you guys name me a coaching staff you've liked more than this one? I mean, seriously, not just Heupel. I think Heupel is clearly the best coach they've hired since. Some people are going to go before Fulmer. I'll just say since Fulmer because he did win a national championship. Boys, I think we have a football coach. I am excited. They are recruiting away. If they just recruit, I feel good about. I feel like we are on the right path.
Well, what's fun to watch is the schemes and the play calls that you see working, that you can sit and watch developing on the TV, and you're like, God, I mean, if it's that easy, why didn't these other guys before Heupel have that success? Why couldn't they draw something up that worked? Why didn't you have guys running wide open?
I think one thing that's not mentioned enough is Tennessee, for the first time in 5 years, has a quarterback. I think that's being underestimated. That's not being mentioned enough.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit, but I do like Hendon Hooker. Somebody commented for the first time in about 40 videos this week and said, Boogie, you've been on Hendon Hooker since the beginning. People forget that because of Joe Milton. And I was talking about it just today. You can still, looking back, yeah, it sucks, man. If Tennessee had gone with Hooker, I truly believe they would have beat Pitt. I believe it. But at the same time, I can look at it and say, I get it. I get why Josh Heupel went with Joe Milton.
Huge upside. Huge upside.
If you can't see it, you're blind. You're blind. And yes, Tennessee has found their guy, and it is opening up this offense. But any kid, let me play devil's advocate. Put Hendon Hooker in the offense last year. Does it succeed? Or to go back to what Dauber said, is it because of what this offensive staff is scheming up week in and week out? And I love Hendon Hooker. I'm not trying to take away from him, but I'm saying that this coaching staff and these schemes are setting up Hendon Hooker for success.
But Joe Milton didn't have success.
No, absolutely not.
So
absolutely
I think he would have been better than what they had last year.
So would Dauber. Dauber would have been.
So would I. Hell, I could have got out and got some yards.
It's more consistent,
Penny, probably.
More consistent.
But I mean, it's an apples to oranges comparison for last year. I mean, you could have put Trevor Lawrence in that offense. He would have did some good things, but overall, it would have still been a lethargic at best offense, probably. But yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between production from Joe Milton sucks, for lack of a better term. He does. And the only reason, in my opinion, he's the backup is because maybe they're trying to redshirt Harrison Bailey. Otherwise, Milton can go. And yeah, he's got potential, but when you're that far into college, you are what you are. But that's a big thing with it. Hendon Hooker is making this go. It's a good fit. Funny enough, he was recruited here by Pruitt and Chaney. Would have probably made some. I don't think he would have made the impact on their offense that he's made on this one, though. This one just seems to really suit him well.
See, I'm gonna play the other side of the hand there a little bit. I think Milton was picked because there is a huge upside and there's a huge potential, and everything we heard is he was making all the plays in practice.
Yep.
So I think he fit the offense a little bit better because of his arm, his arm strength, moving the ball down the field, and the speed at which he got the ball out of his hands.
Doesn't matter if you can't hit a pass.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you can't hit a pass.
But when you're doing it in practice, like Dauber said, it's hard to go against him.
Here's the thing. I think Hooker has come in, and Hooker has been consistent, and they've won ball games. So why change it up?
Oh, it's Hooker. And not to jump so far ahead, if he comes back, he's got to come back next year. You're talking about a guy that could have a huge upside in the NFL draft.
Oh, absolutely.
2 years in this offense.
That consistency is his calling card. If he can just kind of maintain where he is, he doesn't have to go out and light it up and throw for 500 yards a game.
He doesn't have to light it up, and he's the second most efficient quarterback in the SEC, fifth most efficient in all of college football. And I would love to see how the numbers play out after this week because, again, Indy Kid touched on it earlier. He didn't really throw the football a lot in the second half and still threw for 225 yards and 3 touchdowns. Hendon Hooker, what's the upside? Like, what is the ceiling? How high can he go? Let me get caught up on Super Chats here.
So why was there a devil's advocate again?
Well, I'm just saying, I think.
Well, you got to look at the scheme. You have to look at the scheme. The devil's advocate is, what would Hendon Hooker have done last season under Jeremy Pruitt? He would have been better than Jarrett Garantano, but I don't know. I don't know. I do know he would not be putting up the numbers he is right now without that Josh Heupel offense.
Schematically, it's too different. And I think, honestly, and we've said it before on this show, I think Jim Chaney had his hands tied by Jeremy Pruitt.
100%.
You weren't looking at a Jim Chaney offense either because you weren't getting the ball to the playmakers. You weren't spreading the ball down the field. Of course, you had limitations from the quarterback position.
You were looking at a Nick Saban offense before Nick Saban adapted. That's what you were looking at last season. Lee Minnick for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says, if we aren't healthy, we aren't winning. 1 out of the next 4. I worry about our health on both sides of the ball. I've seen people blaming strength and conditioning. Do you guys think that's a factor in the injuries, or do you think it's a lack of depth that just makes the injuries stand out more? What is it, Indy Kid?
It's called a brutal game with young men walking around who weigh 250 to 260, running 4.6, 4.7 40s. They're stronger, they're faster, they're bigger than they've ever been. It is an absolute brutal game. That's what it's called. Strength and conditioning can't make up when you get plowed by a 260 or 70-pound guy who runs a 4.6 40. It's just a brutal game.
Chuck Morissette for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Chucky. Sorry, Chucky. Hype and Kiffin have coached against each other twice as head coaches. Hype got the best of him both times. Score 56-36 and 48-14. I think it's going to be a little closer this year. The talent gap's going to be a little closer.
That's a good point, but you're now transferred to SEC football, and Ole Miss is a year ahead of Tennessee, a year plus ahead of Tennessee.
It's a good opportunity to go prove yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like the South Carolina game, the Missouri game, they're all great. And I love seeing Tennessee go out and dominate and not leave it out.
Those are 2 teams that we beat last year.
Exactly. Now it's time to make a point. Are we going to beat the teams we're supposed to beat? Or are we going to step up and rise to the occasion? Because, again, I keep doing it, keep saying I don't like to do it, but yet I keep doing it. And the Indy Kid, you took so much flack after the game, but that Pitt game keeps coming into the back of my mind because Tennessee should have won that game, and they didn't. And that's the only one that we have to go by at this point. Other than that, Josh Heupel's done what he is supposed to do. So you can go out and make a statement against Ole Miss this coming Saturday.
Well, and you have an opportunity to make a statement if you come out and don't lay an egg in the second half against Florida.
I still think – oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were going to say today. I still think they made a statement today.
The second half against Florida, they came out, and I think that shows the talent level and the lack of depth that this team faces when they go against an upper echelon SEC opponent.
Pecan with a $2 super chat says Milton is a good player in the wrong position. I love you, Pecan, long-time listener. You've dropped so many super chats, but I'm sick of hearing that. That's been in the comments for weeks. People wanting to move Milton to tight end and wide receiver. It ain't going to happen. He's a quarterback, and he's not good enough. That's it. Like, he'll wrap up his career, and I hope he has a successful life, but I don't think he's going to move to wide receiver or tight end and make a difference. Thomas Maynard for 5. Thank you. Thomas says, nice win. I know we have some tough games coming up, but we are definitely going to a bowl. I think this team definitely gets to 6 wins. Any kid, do you think they are going to self-impose, or do you think they're going to stick the middle finger at the NCAA and go to the postseason?
I wouldn't
Why
stick
wouldn't you?
the middle finger. I'd stick both middle fingers to them and go to it. Yep. There is no way I self-impose. Absolutely not. And the fact that this is still dragging on is complete and utter incompetence at its finest. This should have been wrapped up.
Especially considering the large majority of the people implicated and named in reports that came out are no longer at the university.
Everybody's gone, from coaches to guys that do analytics. They're all gone. Doug Spencer for 5. Thank you, Doug. We appreciate it. Says recruiting should get a bump after these last 2 games. Excitement beyond anything we have had in a very long time. Yes, I think you're right. I think people are talking about Tennessee. You're creating some buzz. And I touched on it in a video this week. You know, a lot of people wanted to bring out the alternate uniforms for Ole Miss. I kind of like it this week after I look back at it, because it created a little bit more buzz for this game, a noon kick that nobody would have been talking about. But what happened when they broke out those jerseys? Everybody on Twitter was talking about Tennessee. National media, everybody was talking about Josh Heupel in Tennessee in a week that typically would have been a noon kick that nobody cared about. But instead, everybody's talking about it. What are they going to be talking about next week? They're going to be talking about Lane Kiffin coming back to Knoxville. That game's going to have some hype. And I saw some people saying, why not just rock the black jerseys again? And if you let the players vote on it, I could totally see them going with it. Me personally, let's check our Neyland and let's rock all orange. That's what I would like to see them do next week. But regardless, people are going to be talking about Tennessee football next week. They were talking about it this week. That's what you want. That creates momentum in recruiting. Jonathan Rice for $20. That's a big-time super chat. Says, with all these points being put in, this is fun, up-tempo offense. How do you think it helps recruiting? Indy Kid. Dauber, I'll go ahead and excuse us from the room, and we'll let Indy Kid answer this. Says, which game would be bigger win, Kentucky or Ole Miss for recruiting? Big game next week, 44-41 Tennessee. Go Big Orange. I want that Ole Miss win, but Indy Kid, the floor is yours. Dauber and I will take a back seat.
So it's did you guys see where Lynn J. Dixon was on campus today? Clemson transfer was once committed to Tennessee. So that's interesting guy they had on campus today visiting, but has to help, does it not? Today was really the first big recruiting weekend that they've had this year, because they didn't have anybody in town for Bowling Green. I'm not sure about Bowling Green, but Pitt and Tennessee Tech, they didn't bring any official visitors in. They had a lot of guys. They had some officials for 2022, and then they had a lot of 23 and 24 guys in town today. It has to help, but which game would be bigger for recruiting? That's easy. Which one's the home game? Don't miss. That's going to be the home. I mean, the Kentucky is going to help, no doubt, because you're going head-to-head with Kentucky for some guys. But hopefully, man, you got to think Neyland's going to be on fire next week, is it not?
Lane Kiffin makes it the storyline that the SEC Nation, College Game Day has not talked about Tennessee for all season. They're going to be talking about him next week because of Lane Kiffin.
I mean, listen, you've scored 107 points in the last 2 games, the last 2 conference games. So that makes you semi-relevant in terms of any ball game that you're playing, because you're playing at such a high offensive level and scoring so many points. Man, it is going to be electric. For first night game in Neyland this year, it's going to be
say
fun.
Anybody next week when they call Lane Kiffin's name that cheers him, you need to turn in your fan card. Next week, you're done with.
Booed. He'll be booed out of the building. It's going to happen.
They need to boo his ass plumb out of Tennessee.
I do want to
say
Neyland
Stadium, but out of the state, because let's not forget Lane Kiffin. I know a lot of people were wanting him back last year, but he's never coming back. I've got as good a chance of getting that head coaching job as Lane Kiffin does. He's never coming back. Yeah, good for
I'm-
him, but he's matured. But if you're in that stadium and you don't boo him next week,
Has he
and
matured?
even cheering,
Has he?
I mean, look at it. He was about as immature as a middle schooler.
Get your popcorn ready. That ain't a mature football coach, any kid.
He had been.
I'm pretty
That
sure
was
that the three of us on this screen right now pegged him as the pivotal turning point for the fall of the Vols.
I'm pretty sure at least two of the three of us would have taken him back this year too.
Well, I mean,
Pretty sure. Maybe
I'm
not
not
you,
going to
Dauber.
say I wouldn't have taken him. I didn't say I wouldn't have taken him, but I know it wasn't realistic either.
I want to go back. Dauber did mention a point that it's an opportunity for a plug, talking about a night game in Neyland. We're doing a tailgate show. We are doing a tailgate show on Saturday before the Ole Miss game. So go ahead and hit that join button just below, right beside subscribe. Every single member of this channel will have an opportunity to come on the show, hang out with us about an hour before kickoff. I think we're going to do it like Indy Kid and I did before was it Florida game? What game? Whatever game it was. Florida game. We're going to bring like 10 of y'all in and just hang out and talk football. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you join the channel. You also get access to custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. It's right beside subscribe. Just hit join. It's as little as 99 cents a month. And you can get access to those tailgate shows and be a part of the show. Undying Voice for $5. Do we kind of blame strength and conditioning? Our running backs, quarterbacks in the past, for the most part, have been able to take the beatings. We kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. I think it's just part of the game. But I think it does kind of elevate it because of lack of depth. I think that is why every little injury becomes a huge deal. Look at Cooper Mays. Cooper Mays getting hurt is a big deal because of lack of depth. Travis Adair for 10. It's our old Pig Suey friend. Says, congrats on the win, guys, but I doubt you will have Lane Kiffin on his hands and knees praying. Arkansas lost, but we had him praying. Check Twitter. Love Pittman, even though we lost. Glad to have you back in the chat, Travis. We appreciate that super chat, buddy. Also, we got a new member of the channel. Octavian Kador is a member of the channel, and I'm sure they just want to join us for the pregame show. Let me go ahead and do this, too, while we're rocking and rolling on all the plugs. We do have over 300 people watching live right now. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel. If you hate what we do, hit the thumbs down. That's fine. Either way, don't care. Just don't be, either love us or hate us, but never forget us. Also, if you want to pick up the official merchandise of the Talkin VAWLS Network, go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. The link is in the description below. Look, I'm wearing one myself. Everybody loves the state pride merchandise, but different color schemes you can see below each design. You got different colors. We got the flat bill hats, the toboggans, all that good stuff. Any and all support greatly appreciated. We'll probably be doing a giveaway soon. That's all we do is give away our profits when it comes to merchandise. But if you guys pick something up, we would greatly appreciate it. We're well over an hour here. Anything you guys want to add before we wrap this thing up? Indy Kid, I'll let you go first. Wayne says, don't need a Karen. Somebody hit the thumbs up.
Yeah, Karen to Ken. So, but no, good day for Tennessee football. 2 wins in a row in SEC play. 2-1 on the season in SEC play. They've already surpassed last year's win total. They've tied. No, it was the 4th win today, right?
Yep. Already got more wins and more points, both, Indy Kid.
Already more wins and more points in 6 games than they had in 10 last year. That's pretty good. I love what Heupel's doing. They're doing good things. You can't get too mad when you take the foot off the gas when you're up by 38 points or 31 points, I guess, at the time. But good things are going on in Knoxville in all programs. Basketball about to start back up. Baseballs and fall ball. Really excited about them. And some, I always forget to mention this, but if you're a listener in the CSRA area, you know what I'm referring to, around Augusta, Aiken, in that area, there is a big orange. Where the cocks are. Yeah, that's a normal word down here, actually. But if you're in that area, there's a Big Orange alumni. There's a pretty good following down here. I can't remember if they did a watch event today, but they do watch events so often in Augusta. You don't have to be an alumni. They had mentioned it to me to try to mention on air. The sixth game, I finally remembered to mention it opposed to the first. But, yeah, if you're in the area, guy, if you want to message me on Twitter about it, just send me a DM. I can give you more info. But 4-2, good things going on. Man, if you're in Knoxville next week, run the Lane train out of town. Give it to them, represent, and go Big Orange.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can see the handles scrolling across the bottom. We're all pretty boring when it comes to follows, but if you want to show us some love, you can do that. Dauber, any final comments? Oh, wait, let me say this because Any Kid did say it. Just a quick plug, too. Reminding you that we are going into basketball season. And good gosh, yeah, it's fall ball, but baseball season's right around the corner, too. That's what's fun because as we start to wrap up football, we're going to roll right into basketball. Indy Kid, Dauber do a great job covering that. So any basketball fans, make sure you guys tune into that. We'll keep you updated. We'll have to look at the schedule. We may have to kind of move things around, move Tuesday to Wednesday. We'll figure it out. But they'll be going live. I don't know if it'll be once or twice a week covering that basketball team. Also baseball. Any Kid, myself, Dauber, if you want to join us this year, we're going to be going live every Sunday throughout baseball season and kind of covering, that midweek game and then the weekend series. So if you dig all that, make sure you tune in. But Dauber, any final comments before we wrap this thing up?
I'm excited for next week. I will be in Neyland, rocking out and hopefully sending the Rebels back down with an L. I'll probably
cheer Lane Kiffin. You're fired.
I will. I'll probably try to jump in on the tailgate and see who's hanging out and get with you guys. And I'll watch the post game, but I'll hate to miss it. But hopefully, we'll all be celebrating another big conference win for the Big Orange.
All right. Well, I think that is going to wrap it up for this one. Again, if you want to join us, we will be going live, as always, every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. But also Saturday, we'll go live for the tailgate show about an hour or so before kickoff. You guys will be invited, all the members of the channel. We will send the link out to you right around the time we go live. So make sure you join right beside subscribe. We'll send you that link. You can come on, hang out with us. It'll be a good time, as always. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. He's the Indy Kid. Oh, wait. He's Dauber. He's the Indy Kid. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
The songs how I